So you started off the new year, you had all these resolutions. You're going to lose weight, you're going to go to the gym more, you're going to quit smoking, you're going to find that new hobby, you're going to commit some time to whatever that new task is that you're wanting to master. And we're now at the end of January and it's already starting to fall by the wayside. And you're thinking, nah, maybe it's time to give up. Well, certainly don't. 88% of New Year's resolutions fail by the end of January, and 90% of New Year's resolutions fail overall. However, with understanding the process of change, what is the psychological mechanisms that allow change, understanding some techniques, and then also having an understanding about how the brain is wired and why change is so good and why goals are important, can help us achieve our goals and make those New Year's resolutions a reality. In the 1970s, psychologists looked at smokers, and they were looking at the people who were successful in change, the people who were successful in quitting smoking. And when they were looking at these people, they realized there are 6 steps, 6 essential parts of change. And they also found that these 6 steps not just applied to quitting smoking, but other behavioral changes as well. And this was known as the transtheoretical model. And there are 6 steps. First step is the pre-contemplation stage. This is when you're blissfully unaware, you're not even thinking about change, you're just going along with your regular habits as you are. But then you have the contemplation stage. This is when you start to think initially about why change is possible. What are the pros? What are the cons? You start to think, is it something you can do? Then you have the preparation stage. The preparation stage is literally when you start to gather information, you start to prepare. You have to lay out a plan, you have to think about it, set some time up for how you're wanting to change. You then start taking action. So if the goal is to lose weight, this is when you start going to the gym. If the goal is to quit smoking, this is when you start counting those days and those hours of not smoking. And then there's the maintenance. It's not just enough to do the action 1 time or 2 times. It needs to become habitual. You need to do it again and again and again. And then they added a 6th step, which is understanding setbacks. Setbacks are an inevitable part of change. It's not going to be some linear success motion. It's going to take some time, and you're going to have setbacks along the way. So you can be preemptive in thinking about what those setbacks might be, but then learn from them when they do, incorporate that new information, and then continue on, try again, continue to maintain. These 6 steps are essential for change, basically. And so understanding these is really important when we're looking at our New Year's resolutions. It's also important to know that if any one of those steps hasn't been fully formed, change is going to be tricky. So if you haven't really contemplated why you want the change to occur, or certainly if you haven't planned, it's going to be impossible to really make that change. So you want to have a sense of those 6 steps, the transtheoretical model that can help us change when we're looking at our goals. But what are some of the practical tips, some practical things that we can do to make our goals more likely to succeed? Well, one is, first of all, to have that clear plan. It's not just enough to think about what you want, but you want to write it down. You want to have it somewhere where you can see it. Put it on a whiteboard, put it on a Google Calendar, but you want to have somewhere where you can see this plan. You also want to preempt challenges, to think preemptively. So, for example, if you have a boss who's a pain in the backside and who's kind of quite aggressive, you might know that this is someone that's going to trigger you, and it might be likely that you're going to need a cigarette after a meeting or at some point in the near future. So think about ways in which you can preempt that issue with the boss. Or let's say when you drive home, your favorite fast food place is on your route home, and every Friday that's your time when you go there. Well, maybe you need to plan a different route. But the point is, having a sense that challenges are going to occur and preempting them is a really important part of change. The other thing is break the goal down into smaller chunks. So, if the goal is to lose weight and you're wanting to go to the gym 5-6 times a week, well, maybe you have to break it down to just once a week. Maybe it's 30 minutes on a treadmill just once a week. And if that's too much, maybe it's just a 30-minute brisk walk. But whatever the goal is, break it down into smaller and smaller steps. There's something else that's really important and interesting to understand about when we're looking at goals and change, and that is our brains are wired to support us in it. We are goal-seeking creatures. So dopamine, that's the neurotransmitter that elicits pleasure and positive emotion when we take action towards a goal. And it actually elicits more pleasure, more of that good sensation when we're preparing and taking action rather than when we're achieving the thing itself. So we are very much goal-seeking creatures, and as we attack our goals, as we move forward, our brain will reward us for that with that pleasurable sensation, with those feeling good chemicals that get released when we're taking action. So this is another reason why it's important to maintain, to stick at your New Year's resolutions because your brain will literally reward you for it. It's going to give you that hit of positive emotion when we take action. So don't quit, don't give up right now. Many people do. When the end of January comes, 88%, many people will quit by the time January comes. But you shouldn't. Know that setbacks are inevitable and they're part of the process. 2, you can understand that there's a process of change, and you need to really make sure that you've planned in advance. You need to take action, you need to maintain, you need to overcome setbacks. Break the goal down into smaller chunks. Have a preemptive plan for some challenges that might occur, and remember that your brain is going to reward you for taking the action. So, good luck, and it's a kind of the cliche, it's the journey, not the destination. It's the journey that's going to give us that meaning and that reward. So continue on. Hope this video was helpful. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe.